Most people I speak to are still generating leads the old-fashioned way. They're going to one of the legacy tools that aren't API first, downloading CSVs, then they're maybe uploading that CSV to get the leads validated, hoping that the leads fit their ICP. Maybe they're automating those emails, and then they're getting back whatever leads that they possibly can. There's a new way to generate leads that we install for all of our customers that uses Claude Code and Clay to automatically pull all of their ICP leads, score them, and then push them into SmartLead so that we can send all of our campaigns on autopilot, including refilling them. In this video, we're gonna pull back the curtain on one of my favorite customers, Pathos PR, who we generate over 80 positive responses per day for, and I'm gonna show you how we pull their entire list, store it in Supabase, find the emails, automatically push those emails to Clay, score them with AI, and then push them into SmartLead so that we can get this awesome result for them. And then you can maybe set that up for yourself. It's kind of interesting because this campaign is so high volume, but I'm just showing it to you because it's extraordinary. This is the same system we use for everyone, even when we're generating 5 to 10 leads per day for our other customers as well too. So with the help of the Pathos team, we helped develop the system. I have to say, they know their customer incredibly well. This would not be possible without a great partnership between their marketing team and our technical team, because I like to say that we have the engine and we have the rails to be able to send all of these things and get it all done, but they were tremendously helpful on the ICP fit, the strategy, really knowing what works and all those kind of things. This company is a PR company that helps businesses increase their brand awareness by getting them featured in companies like Forbes, Business Insider, and any other kind of publication that you can talk about. And they do everything for you, including writing the article. And so as you can imagine, the amount of people who would benefit from all of their industry publications that they have networks with is a really large TAM. This is why we can send this many emails, because their TAM is this large, which then is why we can generate that many positive responses as well too. So let's go into the workflow. Everything is orchestrated with Claude Code and Clay. Let's first get into who Pathos is and the proof of the results. So anyone can just say that they generate these leads on behalf of their customers, but we actually show it. We keep a Clay table of every positive response we've ever generated for them. And it shows in a little bit over a year, we have generated over 11,000 leads for this customer. And actually we get so many leads, I wonder, even if we refresh this, I bet the count will go up. Yeah, see, we even just got more leads while we were just talking about this and I was setting up the video. This is just proof that we generate these leads. We've been doing 80 positive responses per day over the last couple months. We started off at lower volume, but now just to set the expectations, we are sending tens of thousands of emails every single day. This is not a low volume campaign by any means, but I can show you all the orchestration of it right now. Now that you've seen the proof, let's talk about what it takes to actually put a campaign of this scale on autopilot, whether you're sending tens of thousands emails per day or just hundreds of emails per day. The principles still apply for putting the campaigns on autopilot. One, we need a programmatic way to be able to pull our entire TAM and not rely on keeping the TAM in some database and then pulling CSVs. Two, we need to be able to store it and then enrich all of the valid email addresses right before they get pushed into Clay, so that we're not doing all of our email finding inside of Clay. We just found it to be a little bit faster to do inside of Supabase. Then we need to use AI to personalize the messaging, because at this scale especially, every single person needs to be qualified and we need to have one-to-one messaging written for all of them. Then we use Clay to push all of those into SmartLead so that they'll automatically go into all of the campaigns. I put together a little diagram for us of exactly how we've put this lead pipeline together and what Claude Code does along each side. And so first, all of this starts with list sourcing. So for this list, we first got the leads from Prospeo and the Blitz API. Prospeo just added some insane filters to their database so that you can do even better targeting. And I really like working with the founders. And then the Blitz API has an amazing, almost all you can eat plan for finding LinkedIn data that I highly recommend when you're building these really large bulk lists. And so first, we use Claude Code to pull all of the contacts in the filtered lists. It handles all of the pagination, all of just the annoying things that we're going to have happen. And then Claude Code even organizes whether we got the contact from Blitz API or Prospeo and dumps them into my favorite database called Supabase. Claude Code was even used to set up the Supabase account that you are going to see in a second as well too, as far as setting up the columns and doing what's called indexing so that we could query these contacts extremely fast. Then while it's inside of Supabase, we do our email enrichment in Supabase, because I always want to know how many emails do we have loaded for this week of the campaign. So instead of waiting until we send it over to Clay, we want to find the valid emails inside of Supabase. Claude Code also helped orchestrate this because we wanted to use our internal email database, which has over 20 million emails inside of it. Then we wanted to use the Smart Lead email finder, which I highly recommend because they're finding little emails that other finders I see aren't finding. Then we use the Prospect API and then ICPs. Essentially building our own waterfall inside of Supabase, but Claude Code made it into an edge function so that it runs straight inside of Supabase, and it literally is running every hour on every new contact that we find inside of Supabase. All of the validation for the emails still gets validated by Million Verifier because we just want to make sure that every single email is always validated. And again, Claude Code sets all of that up. And now here's the part where Claude Code comes in with Clay. So every morning we need to push the leads from Supabase into Clay via a webhook. So we used trigger.dev in order to set that up, where we use Claude Code to actually set up the code, and then we send it all to a Clay webhook so that we can process everything appropriately, do all of our AI ICP filtering, as well as our AI message writing, and then push all of those leads into the Smart Lead campaigns. So everything does its enrichment and routing, and then we push into our Smart Lead campaigns. Now you see that we have 50 different Smart Lead campaigns. That's because each lead, depending on their employee headcount and depending on their job title and depending on what industry they're in, they all go into a separate campaign, which all gets completely routed. So if you wanted to see examples of this, I already pulled this up where we have our Supabase in here, and you can see at the bottom, we have over 5 million records in here, which is just a crazy amount of data. You'll see here, this was an important part. Creating this column here, we just called processed, and that just tells us whether or not we have processed this lead on behalf of our customer or not, because we don't want to retarget the leads until we've really used the entire list. So we keep track of whether or not we've targeted them yet. And if we haven't, and then we use the processed at time over here. And then you can see the raw JSON of everything about them. And then I think for the YouTube video, we're going to have to block the emails for this, but then we're also keeping track of what was the email source, who do we have emails for that's validated, when was the last time that they were validated, et cetera, et cetera. And so everything gets organized in here. And so then what we set up with Claude Code and trigger.dev is that it'll take the next batch of leads that we need for the day, and then it'll find any lead with client ID, and the processed is false. We are going to push those leads 25 at a time to a Clay webhook. As we push each section of 25, we're going to change processed from false to true, send over the webhook, and then it gets processed inside of Clay. And so then this is the Clay table that we use. I mean, it's got 100 columns, and it's just this gigantic, crazy thing where this is just all the normal data. Then we're cleaning up the domain, the company. We're enriching for the LinkedIn description. Here, we're doing last mile email finding that we might not have been able to do inside of Supabase just in case we need to find others. We need to update their HubSpot every time that we send an email. So we're doing the HubSpot update. We're finding any other company descriptions. And then here's where we're starting to AI generate the content where we're finding their target customer. We're creating some ideas, which is one of my favorite campaigns. We're AI generating the first line. There's only about 3 lines in this email campaign. So the first line is generated, the second line is generated, and then we have the CTA. And then you could see this mess of the numbers based on where they're supposed to go. They get a number for the campaign that they're supposed to be put in. And then you can see we have all these Smart Lead campaigns and everything. And now, so the interesting part is for most people, it really doesn't have to get this crazy. This is just at scale when you're sending tens of thousands of emails a day. This is how far you have to take it. But the process is still the same. If you're just watching this and you wanted to get started, I still highly recommend the same process. Pull your whole TAM so just you know exactly what you're working with, and then you can enrich it for any other things that you might need with Claude Code, or you can enrich it in Clay and all those other things. Then when you find something that works, we found 5% of our overall volume. We're testing things to see if we can find anything that beats the baseline strategy. But when you have these campaigns that are winning campaigns and you just need to keep pumping leads in, I really like being able to have the whole TAM, and then we know exactly how much runway we have with all of the emails that we have, and then we push them into Clay. Now, some of you might be asking, I've seen all these LinkedIn posts about, Clay is dead and we don't need Clay anymore because Claude Code can do everything, et cetera, et cetera. I've found that it's incredibly pivotal to still have Clay in the process, because I find that Claude is really good at doing all of this like crazy new things, and it's pulling the list and I can verify it. I like using Claude for when I'm going to do something one time and I'm doing this big setup. I like using it then. I don't really like trusting a routine or a scheduled task inside of Claude Code that hopefully it's going to do it. I like to see that trigger.dev is going to work every day. I like to be able to see inside of Clay that we received the webhook, and then all of the AI is working properly and it's just on rails, versus if I was trying to edit things on Claude Code, it'd be hard to share it with the team. You know, we lose the observability per lead of what happened with all of them. And so I know a lot of people are still trying to say this, but we still process millions of rows every week on behalf of our customers through Clay, because I like doing all this big orchestration, getting the emails done and all those other things, and then pumping it into Clay to do that final mile of all the expensive things, the AI generated content, the first lines, the Clayagents, and all of those things. We do those things right at the end when we need to spend the money, and then we push them into the smart lead campaigns. Now you might be thinking, that system is crazy. Why does it matter for me? This is cool, but I'm never going to use this. And I think that all the principles still remain the same. We still want to be able to get your whole TAM together. We want to be able to store that. We want to be able to do as much of the enrichment as possible before Clay that's really cost effective. And then anything that we need as a last mile thing, the AI generated text and all those things we get done in Clay. This system is still a system I would recommend for everybody, even if you're only sending 500 to 1,000 emails a day. Just get your whole TAM so you know exactly what you have, and then you can push it into Clay and automatically keep refilling your campaigns. Before we had a system like this, I literally had 3 full-time people on my team downloading CSVs from Apollo and uploading them into Clay. And now that we can just do this all on autopilot, we've gotten them to do other things instead. But being able to take a winning campaign and not have to think about it, where it just keeps getting new leads every single day, is absolutely a game changer. And that's the real takeaway that I want you to learn, is using Claude Code, that once you find that winner, you can keep pushing more and more in every single day. So if you want a system like this set up for your business, just use the link below. Actually, the story with working with Pathos is that the first campaign that we launched for them, we actually did for free because we wanted to prove that we genuinely would be able to get them results. They passed our free test, and now they've become one of our favorite customers who is getting some of the best results we've ever seen. And so if you'd like a system set up like this for your business, there's a link below where we will run a free campaign for you as well. And if you are a B2B company doing over $3 million in revenue, I'd love to launch a free campaign for you. Thanks for watching.